Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Welcome back. New York Times unwittingly let slip the real reason behind Biden's asylum executive order. Remember the one he said he has no power in closing the border? All of a sudden now he has the power to close the border. Isn't that interesting? Why? Because he's getting killed on the immigration question, or I should say the illegal immigration question. And he's trying to save his own behind for this year's presidential election. Let's read on. On the rare occasions that the actual issues are the topic of conversation in this election, most Americans on the right believe that the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border should be the top of the list, along with economics and inflation. It's no surprise that Democrats have done everything they can to roll out distractions and avoid people talking about it. Forget military-age Chinese men across the border. You won't be able to get an abortion. Well, Team Joe has decided it's finally time for its puppet president to do something. And let's tell the truth here. Joe Biden is not really the president. He is on paper, but in reality, he's not. President Biden is expected to sign an executive order on Tuesday, allowing him to temporarily seal the U.S. border with Mexico to migrants from crossing surge. The number he gave was 4,000. If 4,000 come in a day, they closed the border. Now, several years ago, I want you to hear this now, President Obama's head of border security at the time said, with the manpower we have now, we get 1,000 a day. We are basically at our limit, literally. And now they're going to let in 4,000. They want to overwhelm the system. It's amazing to me. President Biden's senior aides have briefed members of the Congress in recent days in the forthcoming action, told to expect the president to sign an order alongside the mayors from South Texas. Yep. Where they're bleeding. Democrats are leaving in droves in South Texas. It's going to affect, of course, their congressional seats, according to several people familiar with the plans. One would think that the administration that led with executive orders dealing with the border on day one in office would have gotten around to thinking about doing something sooner. I wonder what could have made them decide to do it. And they show these two big New York Times on their homepage. Biden expected to sign an executive order restricting asylum. Donald Trump's harder line on immigration appears to resonate, polls show. Now, he's going to pretend he's hard on illegal immigration. A little side note, I'm going to be a little distracted here. I've seen articles where people have figured it out. Courts have ruled that non-citizens have to be counted in the census. And the Democrats get to decide pretty much where these illegals go. Now, they've done some research, and it looks like between 17 and 20-odd seats would not be Democrat seats in the House of Representatives without these illegal migrants. And also, not just the majority in the House of Representatives, it also represents 17 to 20 more electoral votes for the Democrat. Think about that for a minute. That's about 8% of the 270 that you need to win the presidency in the Electoral College. So, there you have it. It keeps the House a lot closer than it should be. And even if no illegals vote at all, which is unlikely, but even if that's true, they still pick up between 70 and 20 electoral votes because those Congress people are still in those areas because of the counting of the non-citizens in the census. Let's read on. The place for those two articles on the homepage of the Times tells me more than just a story about Joe Biden's border nightmare. The article goes on to admit that this executive order is reminiscent of something that former President Donald Trump did when he was in office. That surprised me. In other words, Trump was right again, but they can't say so. Given that the marching orders from the Democratic National Committee to their flying monkeys in the mainstream, that's funny, from Wizard of Oz, the mainstream media usually have them referring to every Trump border policy as racist. What Biden's handlers are admitting is that Trump was right, not only about border problems, but how to handle them. No, I don't think he was perfect on the issue, but he was a refreshing change for those of us who live in border states. Now there is no such thing as border states. They're everywhere. After decades of dealing with weak Republicans whose border policy was guided by fear of being called names in the mainstream media, anything Trump did was an improvement. Now, that's the thing. That's what stops a lot of Republicans from fighting back. We're going to call you racist. The New York Times and the Washington Post and MSNBC and CNN and all the rest. If you don't want to be called that, then just shut up and sit down. And that's basically what's happening. Bigger story here, though, is where Team Joe thinks things are just 4 days after a corrupt Manhattan prosecutor, judge, and jury handed President LOL 81 million, his only victory so far this election cycle. They seem to have a sense that the victory may be more pyrrhic than game-changing. The fact that they decided to mimic the man they continually demonize doesn't indicate that they're feeling they're all the way in the driver's seat. They're doing this out of desperation. They're going to implement some of Trump's policies, but don't say that Trump was right at the same time. Very, very interesting sleight of hand. Of course, the EO can be filed under too little too late. That's the executive order. Democrats were hoping they could continue to dither and blame Republicans. The American public has been buying the dog and pony show. And that's the way it is. Well, they didn't pass the immigration law that the Democrats put up. So they don't want to solve the problem. They just want the issue. Well, meanwhile, there was billions for Ukraine in the bill and everything else. And the bill had nothing to do with immigration. And they were allowing way more than 4,000 a day. Not counting the 10, 15, some estimate 20 million non-citizens that are roaming around the United States. Yeah, they already did the damage already. So now they're going to look like the heroes. It's like the guy that starts your house on fire and then comes in with a fire extinguisher and puts it out and claims to be the hero. Well, the damage has already been done. It's just amazing to me, it is. And people fall for it. There's people in the comment section of some of my videos that say the inflation was not caused by Biden, it was caused by greedy corporations. The usual leftist progressive tactic. Have classes of people that are lower income and medium income and have them face off against the so-called wealthy and rich. It comes right out of the playbook of the Bolsheviks in Russia in the early 20th century. What is that? Rules for Radicals? I forgot the guy that wrote it. That's one of the main things. Have classes fight each other. And of course, the majority of people aren't extremely wealthy. So they're the vast majority to go after the tiny minority that is. It's the oldest trick there is. And here's the sad part. It works a lot of the time. Is it going to work this time? And how much of a distraction is the Hunter Biden so-called trial going to be concerning President Trump and his sentencing coming up? We're going to have to see. Another smoke and mirror. Now they're going to start saying now, as soon as this is signed with the mayors. Now, if these mayors were smart, they would say, well, it's going to be Democratic mayors anyway. But if these mayors are smart, they wouldn't show up at the signing. Have some excuse. I got the flu. I got sick. I have a virus. Democrats are scared to death of viruses. But I wouldn't be there. I really wouldn't, but that's just me. So, how many people are going to fall for this con job? We're going to have to see, because millions do. And that's going to be the marching order of the progressives and the mainstream media, MSNBC, CNN, the like. Listen, Biden solved the problem. Let's move on to the next issue, because immigration and economics are huge, huge issues to the American people. And they say so every poll. And they're against Biden because of it. It's sad. It's sad. How many people will fall for this? But they'll be bombarded with it over and over and over and over. Will it change any hearts and minds back to Biden? I don't know. Unfortunately, probably some. God willing, not that many. What do you think? Just a smoke and mirrors thing? Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.